Hi you guys, welcome to Project Fev Tarot and More. I'm Sharon, Intuitive Empath, and I am channeling energies for July 4th on the Daily Vibe. Hi, how are you guys doing today? Feeling like the energy today is pretty good. US is celebrating Independence Day. Gonna be some fireworks popping off. I think everybody's in party mode, getting ready to just enjoy some time with friends, family, and or both. If you're anywhere else in the world, then I think the energy is that of pretty much excitement. Although I do feel like I'm picking up on another crowd that's not as excited. You're kind of feeling regret. Okay, so maybe there'll be cards for both of them and we can talk about that. Oh, we're going to focus on regret being the misalignment for today and develop a strategy here. Ooh. Universal love. Oh. Regret and universal love. Universal love hasn't come out yet. Loneliness has been a theme for the past couple of days. So I feel like universal love is about needing to connect. Yeah. Discernment showed itself. I think that's a subtle energy here, probably encroaching. That's what's coming up, but it's not the main energy today. Let's see, what do we have here? Any of these? Yes. Consciousness. Universal love and consciousness. Okay, so some of you guys are still shifting. That's okay. Here we go. Underlying energy is discernment. This is the card that is the influencing energy to lead you towards universal love as a result of the shifting consciousness. So for those of you who are sort of kind of struggling to release the old ways of thinking or the old ways of doing things, which is fine. It's okay that that's happening, you guys. Yeah, try not to judge yourself or be too hard on yourself, really, or harsh with yourself. Understand that achieving ambitiously what you've wanted isn't part of what this paradigm is about. Are those the cards? What the heck? Okay, yeah, hold on one second. Oh, goodness gracious. Despair and solitude. So loneliness, are you guys isolating as a result of this loneliness? For those of you who have not been able to reconcile through this, and you're holding on to the negative dialogue, this is where things are headed for you guys, or where you guys are at, despair and solitude, and you're working through these really intense energies of this. Okay, I think that some of you are either in a lack faith kind of space. Okay, so let's address that. We don't have to be afraid that you're experiencing this. It's not actually despair. Okay, isolating yourself might be the tendency because you're not sure how to even interact within yourself, so how can you interact in your environment? That's okay. Alone time here to reconcile this. It might take you a little bit more effort or energy. If you're a Taurus or a Scorpio or a Leo or a Sagittarius, you might be feeling these energies more intensely. Sometimes Cancer does as well, although Cancer is not as fixed, Sagittarius not as fixed, more mutable. But I know that there are certain signs that are going to have difficulty working through these energies because they're going to experience them more intensely and they're going to be more fixed on their way of doing things, their way of thinking, their way of being right or what is right. And it's going to be a little more challenging for them to shift into this new consciousness for themselves. Okay, so I might be speaking to you on that. Okay, failure, fear of failure. There's some regret, not stepping out into your purpose, not surrendering. and that has led to indecision, or the indecision and not making the decision has kind of triggered all of these feelings. So we've got a lot of things swirling around for this group, this collective right now here, whoever I'm speaking to, whoever this is resonating with. So let's talk about universal love. Okay, and we'll start there. The frequency of universal love activates the connection we feel to each other, to our planet, and to the whole of existence itself. So I do believe what this is speaking to is that some of you feel fragmented. You don't feel entirely whole. And for some of you, you feel incapable or stuck. Stuck is the energy. You feel incapable of making a decision because you're terrified to make the incorrect one. Love is probably the most sought after, mysterious, indeterminate, and fulfilling feeling that a human can experience. Its mystery surely derives from the fact that we cannot really describe or define what it is. It is energy. Is it energy? Is it an emotion? Perhaps it is simply the glue that binds everything together. Whatever it is, we know without a doubt when we feel loved and when we love. As vibrational beings, we hold a frequency that aligns with the frequency of our thoughts and our emotions. And from that vibrational point of attention, we attract everything else into our reality. Okay. Basically, what's that saying? What it is saying is that like attracts like. I disagree. And let me talk to you guys a little bit about this, because this is an old energy in conscious thinking. Okay? Like does not attract like. Opposite does not attract opposite. Opposites don't attract. Okay? Attraction doesn't work that way. You are attracted to what you need, and people are attracted to you because of what they need. So everything in the universe is seeking balance, and we've talked about balance not necessarily meaning the same things on both sides of the scale, but energetically balance within itself. So water is a perfect example of that. 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen creates the balance in the form of fluidity, and it creates water. Okay. Does the 2 hydrogen atoms mean more than the oxygen, or does the oxygen atom complain that it's doing twice the work of, what the 2 hydrogen atoms are doing? Energetically speaking, that's the perceptive experience that we can, kind of relate to. When it applies to, or how I believe it applies to the law of attraction, is what I have learned in my own experience is when your light is lit, anyone who can see anything in the dark is attracted to your light. Those who are seeking will get up from their point and move towards your light. Okay? Anyone who is seeking. That doesn't mean that that's a good person for you in your life. Most times the people who are in darkness and don't understand their own light and their light is not lit, they will have toxic qualities. Okay? So it is paramount to understand where you're at in your own soul journey and recognize through discernment where everyone else is at in their soul journey. Okay? So let's talk about discernment so that we can correlate that as well, because that does play a role here too. So discernment is, the frequency of discernment supports our ability to view the world and the people around us from a place of inner balance and detachment, yet with compassion and wisdom. And compassion is a card that came up as a theme for this week too. And wisdom, I think we talked about wisdom and how, making the balance of energies applicable to the wisdom that we acquire through our soul journey. So discernment can be described as the ability to perceive or judge well. Okay, so are the pros and cons of judgment and utilizing that as a tool to be constructive or destructive. Okay. Now that we are moving into a multidimensional reality, we are invited to see the polarity and duality with new eyes. Living in multidimensionality is about experiencing polarity with discernment, being in balance with it, and moving in harmony with it, not one or the other. Okay, you're not choosing fear and abandoning love, because they are the polar of the same extreme to whatever extreme you're experiencing them. Indecision is right there with decision. Okay, this is I would call indecision the polar of empowerment, because making a choice really empowers you, and it gives you the strength and fortitude to activate yourself into the situation. Failure is at the basis of failure is fear. Fundamentally, you can always bring that back to fear. Okay, regret is judgment. Okay, you've judged yourself thinking that you haven't moved forward and you should be, or you're comparing yourself to some illusion that doesn't exist and it's not present, which is why regret has a negative connotation to it. Okay, so purpose card came out in the reverse. So some of you have not activated into your purpose because you fear failure and you regret your indecision. Okay, and really all this comes down to is surrendering to your reality. Okay, so some of you are still holding true to your illusionary identity. Absolutely okay, no judgment there. Okay, but you're experiencing solitude and despair as a result of that. Is that what you want to experience? And that is that what you're trying to manifest in your experience? Discernment would tell you, no, I don't want to manifest despair, and I certainly don't want to live in solitude. I would like to step out in the new consciousness of universal love. Okay, so that requires a decision. This is the focal card for realignment strategy today. No matter what else is on the table, you can't move forward to universal love and shift consciousness, utilize discernment, move from despair and solitude, and surrender to anything until you've made a choice. And the choice is the activation, and that is always the priority. I use my intuition in all aspects of life. That is the affirmation to consolidate your choices or your options to your choice. Okay, so instead of considering it like I have all of these choices, you don't. You have all of these options, but there's only one true, clear choice. Only one. In this new consciousness is surrender to what you already know to be true in your reality. I can release my need to control, and I would take can right out of there, and I would just own it. I release my need to control. I say this every single day, sometimes several times a day, as I find myself as a fixed sign struggling sometimes with my own shift in consciousness. Surrender is kind of difficult. It's a challenge for fixed signs, because we want things the way that we want things, because it makes us feel comforted. It's our comfort to know that we can control things or influence them to our benefit. Okay, so that's the shadow side of a fixed sign. But I would wager to say that with everything that I see on the table here, the things that are really sticking out for me is the need to surrender, to get out of this despair and solitude and into universal love consciousness, is to surrender to your truth and accept that no matter what comes as a result of it, it's going to be less painful and less suffering than what you're suffering through should you not surrender. Okay? Should you not choose. So choose your purpose, step out in it, don't worry about failing. Like literally don't worry about failing. Release your need to control failure versus success, because we're shifting out of consciousness of what success really is and how to define that in the universal truth of love. unconditional love for self and for others, as a matter of fact, in addition to. So when we remember that everyone and everything is connected to the same source, we can overcome any perceived differences and join our power toward a more conscious reality, one based on love. Love is a powerful force that drives our actions, motivates our behaviors, and can change the course of our lives. And that's where we're at with this. For some of the divine counterparts relationships, surrendering to our feelings and our truth that we are in love and that this love is real moves us away from the indecision. And it just creates the space to make the choice. Okay? The regret really should be more focused on what you're going to miss out on if you don't choose the divine relationship. And not really even like miss out on, but what you will not experience as fulfillment. You know, there's fulfillment in these types of connections and relationships in ways that are not existing in your current relationships and paradigms, okay? And here's where I believe the fear of failure comes in, and the intense fear is love is such a powerful force that it can change the course of our lives. Very true. Very, very true. And perhaps the very reason that we are capable of such deep feelings is that nothing fuels our desire for change and evolution more than the love that we are able to feel. So so that's what's happening. The polarity of connecting and feeling intense happiness and delight, solitude and despair. Loneliness was the temptation that is now evolving into solitude. And really the key element to any of this is to just become aware. Just become aware that this is the direction of natural progression when you become out of alignment, okay? So as you become aware that you're out of alignment and despair and solitude are setting in as a result of the loneliness and the indecision, it's very clear. Leap of faith. It all comes down to that leap of faith. We are being called upon to make decisions based on our deepest intuition, our deepest desires, and all of the information about how XYZ is going to play out over the course of however long in order for you to feel comforted doesn't exist anymore. Not that it ever did. But in the current paradigm of things, the discernment is really what's going to be of the key undergirthing here to step out in the new consciousness. Be bold, Sebbies. Be brave. Be courageous. And let's read failure. I understand that a mistake is only an opportunity to learn. So learn from your mistake. I know that I cannot change the past. That's regret. Trust in your intuition. I know what I am here to do. I use my intuition in all aspects of life, and I release my need to control. So there we go. Realignment strategy. When you become aware that you're out of alignment of of manifesting your deepest desire, your true, most authentic desire with any of this, and where you feel you're intuitively led. Deep breath, relax, release, and recite. I release my need to control. And then let it dissipate. Whatever that is, whatever tension is forming as a result of your need to either take control, activate yourself incorrectly. You don't need to control the situation. You just need to surrender to your truth. And then the decision that you should make or the action you should take will be presented to you. Because you only get to do this step by step. You don't get to know what 15 steps down the road is. And that's what a leap of faith is. Okay, so you don't get to know what the right thing to do for the next 15 steps is, because that's you taking control of those steps. and you're not in control of what all of that is, okay? You don't get to relegate what all of that is and how all of it looks for your own comfort. So a lot of this is about just surrendering to the process, falling in love, surrendering to the process of whatever that means, communicating with the person about how to make union a reality. You know, sometimes you just have to accept that that's part of the, you know, the brass tacks of it all. So I hope that that resonates for those of you who have moved from loneliness to solitude and despair, to trigger some positivity in that negative dialogue in the noisy space inside all of our heads, and move towards universal love. Okay? Interesting. 44, 7 and 1, so we have 8 and 8. Okay, so we have double 8s, dual 8s, if that means anything to anybody looking for signs and symbols for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Welcome back, Sebbies. Welcome, newbies. Anybody who's interested in learning more about the channel, reach out to me at projectfebtarot@gmail.com if you have any additional questions. I'm more than interested in opening dialogue and you know, communicating about what content you guys are really interested in on the channel, as well as specifically catering any kind of video content to your needs in the current paradigm of things. I would appreciate any feedback that you guys have as well. So click like, subscribe, let the message circulate to as many people as possible. Get out there and help. And as always, namaste.